Shalom, shalom, family. Shabbat shalom. I hope that y'all are having a blessed and restful day. So good to be back with all of you. We have an important conversation to talk about today. As you all just saw in the trailer, Brother Ron and Brother Lorvins are getting ready for their Leave America Behind conference scheduled for December 27th, 28th, and 29th. Be sure to grab your tickets if you are in the North Carolina area or within the surrounding states and you can make it. You want to grab your tickets to be able to be a part of this phenomenal conference, especially in the day and time in which we are in today. And in light of the discussion that we're going to be having today, y'all saw the title, the new WORLD World. Did I just spell that right? Yes, you got it. Order. So you want to make sure that you get your tickets to that conference. So family, we are getting ready to have a conversation with my brothers. I'm so grateful to have them here as always on the platform, and thankful to all of you for coming in. Do me a favor and get those thumbs up. Get those thumbs up. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please do so. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you can get my latest updates as they come out. We're getting ready to engage in the conversation. And I'm going to go ahead and welcome in my guests. I'm always grateful to have in the building, international worshiper, psalmist, man that is doing incredible things, not just on the musical front, but ministry, as well as standing in the gap for the children of Israel with the African Israelite Justice Foundation. He is the vice president of. I want to welcome in my brother, who is such a blessing and a phenomenal man of Yah, Brother Lorvins. Welcome to the platform once again. How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing good. It's another Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Salam. You know,
all of them.
Subscribe. All of them.
Yeah, they too. We ain't forget y'all.
Yeah, I want to welcome everyone to the platform, to the platforms, because I also stream on mine as well. And so for those that are on that platform, shalom, and shalom to everybody on the Shonda's platforms as well. So, man, another day. New knowledge, new information, new prophecies and things, and how things are unfolding, new events. So we're watching, right? That's what we're supposed to do. We're watching them, and like the verse said, being prudent in what it is that we are seeing and preparing when we see certain dangers. So I do that here in my own house here. I do that wherever I go. And so it only makes sense if we're warned to watch these things. We have to be prudent in what we do and whatever decision you decide to do. So, man, y'all welcome. And thank you, Ashonda, again.
Absolutely. I love when we gather together and we chop it up, because there's always something important to dissect, and it helps us to stay, keep our toes to the ground and keep our eyes ahead and keep our head on the swivel with everything that is happening in society. And so I'm very glad that we can have our dear brother Ron Dalton Jr. coming in and helping us to understand what we're seeing right now. Because as we know, this is a time where America is getting ready to welcome in their new president-elect, right? Donald Trump. And he's already making a lot of moves, and we're going to be talking about it today. But I want to go ahead and welcome in Ron Dalton Jr. Y'all know him. He is the creator, the author, the producer of Hebrews to Negroes, that has gone around the world, that has had everyone talking about it. That everyone from politicians, entertainers, musicians have been talking about his work. And I'm grateful to have him on here so that we can get a chance to glean from his understanding about what is going on in current events. So, Brother Ron Dalton Jr., welcome once again to Ashonda at Large.
Hey, welcome. Thank you for having me on the show. It's glad to be here, presence of you guys.
Well, we're glad to have you here in our presence as well. So,
Glad to be your presence, Ron.
All right. So we got a lot to talk about, Ron. And, before we get into it, we want to give you an opportunity to talk about what's getting ready to happen on December 27th, 28th, and 29th, because as we saw in your trailer with the Leave America Behind conference is getting ready to come up And based on the conversation that we're getting ready to have, what are your thoughts about those who are kind of like hesitant about jumping in and getting those tickets to the conference in light of current events? What are your thoughts and what are your words to them so they can understand that this is important for them to show up?
Well, you shouldn't have any fear. I think this is going to be one of the most critical conferences that we've done in America. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to share is going to be stuff that we need to hear, and I'm going to be offering some solutions and showing people the problems that we have today in the Hebrew community, in reality in the world that we see today in America, the elections and what's coming, what we can expect after the elections. I think people that if they are concerned about the state and the future of America in their household, that they're going to want to come to this conference. And people they say like, well, are you going to live stream it? And we don't typically live stream the conferences because then that means that why have a conference if we can do it virtually? And I understand people would rather not travel to North Carolina to sit down in a building and watch what is being said, see what's being said, hear what's being said. They want to, do everything from behind a screen. And if that's the case, then we just need to do Zoom, StreamYard conferences, and do everything online. But this is a time that we can come together, we can fellowship, we can network. Those that are our vendors can actually take place in the selling of their products and their goods and any services that they may have that they want to get out to the Hebrew community. And just get out of the house. It's not a lot of stuff for us Hebrews to do at the end of the year. I mean, unless you're going to celebrate Santa Claus and reindeers and cookies and milk and all this stuff. That's the dates are after Christmas and before New Year's Eve, the Gentiles' New Year's Eve. So, the kids are out of school during this time, so there's no excuse why you can't bring them or not bring them and just come down to North Carolina. So anybody saying that the kids are in school, oh it's going to be snowing, it's going to be too cold, this and that. Well, it's not a lot of excuses people can give. It's on a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. Like I said, it's not on pagan Christmas. It's not on a New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So essentially, what are the Hebrews going to be doing during this time, other than maybe spending time with family? But we are your family too, and this is important. You actually should tell your family that are not in the truth that they need to come down and listen to the things that's going to be said, because if they're looking at the news and CNN and Fox and YouTube, they're not going to get a firm grasp on what is happening biblically in the world and what that means for Hebrews and Christians and even Black people that don't believe in any deity of God. It still affects you at the end of the day, because whether you like it or not, the God of Israel is real, and the Israelites are real, and the Hebrew language is real. So this is reality. You don't have to believe in it or not. It exists, and if it exists, then we have to understand these things are going to be the things that are prophesied in the Bible are going to take place, like they have taken place in the past, present. So this is something that you guys, we don't do every month or every other month. So the last one we did was last year around November. So this is about a year now, over a year. that we're doing another conference, and Lorvins can attest that we had a good turnout last year. And this year, unless I can turn water into wine and make 1,000,000 pieces of bread and chicken and meat from nothing, last year we had so many people that we we couldn't at first accommodate all the meals. And I looked at Lorvin and said, Lorvin, we're gonna run out of food. And Lorvin said, yeah, we are. I said, well, what are we gonna do? And Lorvin had to leave. He had to leave the conference. I was there all by myself. But people are asking me, somebody's at the front, somebody's in the back, somebody says this, somebody says that. I'm like, well, I'm trying to speak and run the conference, and Lawrence is not here. And the women are taking care of the food. They're waiting for Lawrence to come back with more food. So it was a lot going on at that conference. And thank the Most High that we got the food and everybody was fed. Everybody had a good time. They got their money's worth. The vendors got the time to sell and network. So it was a good turnout. So I'm praying that we get the same thing this next month.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I agree. Y'all want to be out there actually in the presence. It's so beautiful for brothers to dwell together in unity and to be able to do it, outside of these platforms, these virtual, I don't know, technology that is given to us to be able to, hug each other, shake each other's hand, and to smile together. That is something that we don't get a chance to do often enough. And even with that, I want to ask you, Lorvins, to share about what the great news that you have coming up with your concerts. Now, this is not just, an American phenomenon, right? Because the awakening is around the world, right? And so Brother Lorvins is getting ready to prepare for a concert in Nigeria and in Ghana. Can you do us a favor and tell us about that before we get ready to get started? You got to unmute.
I always do that. Before I do that, with just last weekend, we had the conference with the African Israelite Justice Foundation that hosted in South Carolina. And, Sister E, she's the treasurer of the organization. And most people probably don't know that, but she is. And she even said it is very different when you are in the presence of everybody. It is not the same. It is not the same. And a lot of people that came, they were so blessed just being around each other, because really you don't know how to keep these laws until you're around each other, to be honest with you. You see what I'm saying? So it's one thing to read them, it's one thing to be on behind the scene, but you don't get the true essence of the teaching. And some of the things that are being said, you really kind of don't want them being said live anyway. So, using wisdom and things of that nature. So it's really not a ploy to get you to come, because the people are going to come anyway, right? Because last year was amazing. I mean, pretty much a packed house. South Carolina, packed house, of standing room. So you see, the Most High is doing something. And so if you are led, and just come out, trust me, you will not regret it. Sister E, I love Sister E, because it's like she was so nervous, and when she left, it just changed her life. And I believe she said it too on her live. So yeah, definitely come out. A lot of people have questions in regards to hotels and where they're going to stay and things of the nature. We'll make sure to have a lot of news to come out in regards to the conference in December. As for Africa, yes, I will be going alongside with GAI, right, with Dr. Howard and his wife and the family of GAI, Great Hebrew Awakening family. And I'm going to Nigeria first, and then I'll be going to Ghana. So we're performing there. So it's just not me. YaHUaH is also going. We got We the People, which is with the GAI. They also will be going. So we'll all be performing in tandem with one another. Really to bless the people, use our gift. And of course, there's some other things going on, on the side to meet certain delegates, politicians in Ghana, to really talk about some things, about to effectuate some changes. You see what I'm saying? Really to start I would call it like, when you're breaking ground on a new building. So really, I'm going there to break ground. You see what I'm saying? I have a lot of conversation to see how it can help our people. It's one thing to talk about it, but then one thing to be in front of the people who most Hebrews criticize and don't want to be around, politicians and things of that nature. So if you look at Joseph, he was number 2. That's a politician. You see what I'm saying? He was right underneath Pharaoh. You look at Daniel, dealing with the politicians. You look at YaHUsHa, delivered to politicians. So you're going to have to deal, even with the Sadducees and all, dealing with those folks who wanted to was sitting on Moses' seat. They were politicians at the end of the day. But what type of politicians are you going to be? What type of advocate you're going to be for your people? You see what I'm saying? For the Most High's people. So really, to make things a lot smoother for us, especially when we go to different countries in Africa, really to be talking to these heads so that we can have a better transaction when we go there, instead of, man, just trying to go to Nigeria and Ghana, man, the things you have to do just to go to Africa is ridiculous, So got to change a lot of that. So one of the reasons why I'm going.
Amazing, amazing. And you know what? I think that you brought up such a great point about how we see our ancestors dealing with heads of states and even becoming heads of states, like Joseph, for example. These are the moves that have to be made, right? Because all of life is political. And when you're dealing with the government, you're dealing with the governing of the people, of the populace. And so with we as the nation, as the true children of Israel, we are also going to be called to stand in that office. When scripture tells us that we're going to be the head and not the tail, that Esau's the end of the world, but Jacob is the beginning that follows after, that's a government that is set up. That's the government of Yah. And so we cannot not have these opportunities to embrace communication with those people who have been put in these offices and not take the time to help them understand who we are so things can be shifted for us. Because it's crazy that you just said that, Lorvins, that we who were taken from the continent by force are having a hard time getting back to the continent to be able to talk with these delegates and to reach out to the locals and to share about who we are and our experience in the diaspora. So that's crazy, but I'm so glad to hear that you're getting these opportunities, as well as you, Brother Ron, that you're creating opportunities to be able to engage with the family. You are already in South Africa doing major work, and we're going to be talking about the work that you're doing, and we're also going to be talking about the things that you're seeing, the changes that you're seeing on the continent today. Because family, listen, this is all coming to a head. When we talk about politics, it's all coming to a head, and we have to make sure that we understand where our role is as things are transitioning and things are shifting. And shout out to Sister E for what she said concerning the conference that you all just had. And that was in South Carolina?
Charleston, South Carolina, yeah.
Charleston, South Carolina, right? The home of the Gullah Geechee. Listen, that is so important to understand, that when you engage with your community locally, when you engage with us outside of these online platforms, trust me, it is a blessing to us. It is an absolute blessing to us as much as it's a blessing to you. So definitely get those tickets if you can. If you're on the continent, if you're in Nigeria and Ghana and want to check out Brother Lorvins at the concert, then you definitely want to reach out to him. And how can they reach out to you, Brother Lorvins?
Of course, they can go on the GAI site to get the itinerary of what's going to be done. But if you want to reach out personally to me, you just reach out to my email, which is sonofshemites@gmail.com. So son, singular, of Shemites, plural, @gmail.
Awesome, awesome. And for the question, someone asked if this is live or recorded. This is live, okay? So make sure that you hit those thumbs up as we get ready to dive into our conversation today. Now, Brother Ron, you were sharing that there's some things that are happening, in South Africa that are kind of alarming, concerning politics, concerning how things are moving around and shifting in terms of the ideological beliefs of the people that are there. And I know we're going to be talking about what's happening in America, but I really want to address what has been going on in South Africa, because you were there, boots on the ground. I'd like to play this video that you shared, and then get your thoughts about what has been happening. Okay.
It's an honor for me to introduce a proper South African friend of Israel.
This visit is tremendously important. We have here a church which is the second largest church in South Africa that came to express their support, to express their solidarity.
The verse is, I will bless those who bless you and I will curse those who curse you. It's real. And now you taking a stand to bless Israel. They're risking their lives, they're risking their families, they're risking the community, but they're doing it because they believe that this is the godly way.
I know that people are very much connected to Israel in their Bible. And so thank you for being this light and the strength, and I hope people could be influenced by your bravery.
It is your government, unfortunately, who has done the worst thing that could possibly have done since October 7th, and it is you and your support and your people and your church who can change things.
In these difficult times, we discover who our true friends are.
There are moments in history that are pivotal, biblical even. Moments that have the power to change the trajectory of the future and move reality into one direction or another. I truly believe that this is one of those moments.
Allow me to welcome on stage Nkosi Phagama Shembe.
Umphethi wembenge ovele ezulwini wavela kade wasifezela amadoda umaphebeza.
Sizosho ukuthi into eyenziwa egovernment yase South Africa akubona ubuntu esabufundiswa ubaba wethu Dr. Mandela. Silapha ukuzothi hayi egameni le-South Africa.
Our people, seeing these Christians who have done so much for the people of Israel, the Christian Zionists, and for them to be part of history as well, to know that through their efforts in their nations across the world, they can also be part and parcel of the greater vision for Zion to be the temple of all nations.
Now, when I saw that video, I was just floored. I was absolutely floored. I to see so many of our brothers and sisters still so manipulated. And to me, it feels like, I just did a live last week, a little over last week, just talking about that great delusion. And now that Trump is coming to the White House, and how so many evangelicals have been propping him up and pushing him up as this savior type person. But when I see what's happening in South Africa, because with the same Christian moniker, if you will, and it's going into this idea that the Ish people, the Rev 2 the state of Israel people are fulfilling biblical prophecy, and they must help them to rebuild the city of Zion. It blew me away, and it saddened me deeply. Can you talk about what you're seeing there and how the people are responding?
The Shembe church is the second largest church in South Africa. But in terms of being led by a Black person, they are the largest church in KwaZulu-Natal. It's a majority Zulu tribe area. The number one church in South Africa is the Rhema Bible Church. It's headed by a white guy, and the majority of the church is Black. Just like the Potter's House, it's a mega church, and you have your Soweto Grace Bible Church. Both of these churches, they don't teach that we are the Israelites. They don't teach who are the sons of Ham. Most of the time, the identity of Black people are the Gentiles. We are the Gentiles. And even though there's no man in the Bible named Gentile, this is what the Christian pastors teach Black people. and they sit there in the church and they listen, and their eyes are open and they're blinking and they're listening with their ears, and they're just sitting there just taking garbage and false teachings. And you can prove this by simply asking any church member of the Rhema Bible Church or Soweto Grace Bible Church, maybe even the Shembe Church. Just ask them some questions. Who are the Canaanites? Who are the Cushites? Who are the descendants of the Egyptians and the Puthites? Who are you in the Bible? What is your lineage? Is it back to Jacob? Are you the Israelites? If you're the Israelites and you're black, then who are these white people that they're telling you that they have to have a Israel Friends conference? And why are you wearing a kippah? Where is the little kippah in the Bible? Where does it say in the Old Testament that you have to wear the circular piece of cloth on the top of your head? Where is that in the Bible, in the Old Testament? Can you show me? They're not gonna show you that thing. There's so many things you can ask people to give you the answer. They're not going to give you the answer because they don't know the answer because your pastor didn't teach you this. And the pastor is like the shepherd of his flock. I mean, he's the Mora, he's the Zakin, he's the rabbi, he's the apostle, he's the prophet. And there are people that identify as Israelites in South Africa, and they've been calling me, they've been hitting me up on email, on WhatsApp. And I met with a brother the other day, and he said, Ron, he said, we need good teaching. We need leadership. We have elders, yes, but we need a leader. We need somebody to lead and guide us. I said, brother, I said, are you saying we need to start an assembly? And he said, yes. I said, okay, well, when I get back, I said, let's try to do that. Let's try to do that. And let's start this assembly. And if the elders will listen, will listen to me. That's great, because they're going to have to listen. I said, the stuff I'm going to teach, even if we have a revival or festival or crusade, they call it a crusade, the people are going to be changed when they hear the stuff that I got to say. And it should resonate in their ears, in their heart, in their soul, in their spirit. Because everything that's happening right now in South Africa is explainable in your end and on the Gentiles end. But we have to understand who we are and where our land is. And I told the brother this the other day, and I shook him up like I do a lot of Israelites when I said that. I said, this is the Holy Land. This is the land of milk and honey. This is the land of Canaan. We're on it right now. It's not up there north in the Middle East. And he said, huh? He said, but what about? And I said, no. I said, let's go to the scripture. Let's go to the book. And I used the Bible, and I was breaking it down logically, critically thinking, and reasoning with him, and showing you. I said, it's all here. It's in the Bible, and everything that's in the Bible is here, not over there. And he looked at it and he said, you're right, Ron. And I said, where's Mount Zion in Israel? Where is it at? He said, I said, I don't know. I said, well, Google it, look it up. He Googled it. I read him some scriptures. I said, doesn't it say here that Mount Zion is a high mountain? It's the highest of the mountains. And on Mount Zion, we shall have refuge and safety and all these things. He said, yes. I said, it's in the Bible. Obadiah, Ezekiel. I said, look at this. Look, is this Mount Zion? And he said, no. Is this a mountain? He said, no. I said, what is it then? He said, it's just a place. And I said, look at all the mountains in Africa. They're so tall that the clouds are right next to it. Like you can stand on a mountain in Africa and you can see the clouds like you're in an airplane. And so, what I see happening is that the Jews are slowly, colonizing and infiltrating Africa by way of religion, also alliances with the Christian churches, because he said in the video, if you bless Israel, God will bless you. And that means that when he read that scripture, and the black people are sitting there with the kippah on their head, and there's a lot of young people in their church, there's a lot of young people in Africa, and they're sitting there in their garments and their kippahs, and they're sitting there nice and shoulders up, looking at the white man's feet. And he says, if you bless Israel, God will bless you. That means you're not Israel. You're not Israel. Because if we're the Israelites, then you need to bless us. Don't take from us. Don't take the diamonds and the oil and the cobalt and the coal and the uranium and the iridium and all this stuff and just whisk it away to your country and then sell it back to us. Don't make all these businesses and then y'all get billions, y'all become millionaires and billionaires and we're making Trump change, you know, making minimum wage, $200 a month, and y'all are billionaires. Don't do these things on our land and then come asking us to support and join an alliance and hold a conference when we are the Israelites. Bless us. But of course, they don't believe that. Of course, they don't believe that, because if they believe that, then the South African Jewish Board of Deputies would not be trying to ban the movie Hebrews to Negroes. They don't care if they got millions and billions of dollars in their bank account in South Africa. They do not want 400 Black people to sit in the theater and look at Hebrews to Negroes and listen and see. They don't want that. 400 people in the theater one time. They don't want you to sit down in the theater in Soweto, some majority Black area. You come to, white people don't really come to Soweto except for to see Mandela House, the Sharpeville Massacre, and these different historical places and to buy African stuff. Otherwise, at nighttime, white people are not in Soweto. They get out of there before nighttime. They're not going to clubs in Soweto. They're not hanging out in Soweto. When the sun goes down, they are out of there. So, you know, we have to understand that although the Jews are not living in Soweto, in the heart of a Black city, a large Black city like Detroit, they don't want Black people from afar to see the movie Hebrews to Negroes. But yet, because they're willing to ban it and hire lawyers since last year to ban it. They're still doing it to this day. They're still fighting me. But yet they come to South Africa and they meet with the largest Black church organization in South Africa and say, we want you to be an alliance with us. What your country did was wrong. Your country with the ICC, the International Criminal Court, Benjamin Netanyahu arrest warrant. You guys started South Africa. You guys started this. You guys started this thing with the International Criminal Court or whatever it's called. You guys started this, so you guys have a responsibility to do. You got to gain your followers, your people, you know, to support Israel. It's so sad to see that. It really hurts my heart because all we need is the teaching. We just need the teaching. We just need the teaching, and here I am in South Africa, and they're trying their best to keep the books out of the bookstores, you know, exclusive books. We're trying their best to ban the movie so nobody can see it, nobody can have possession of it. They're trying their best, and that means that they're scared of something, and they don't want Black people in South Africa to wake up to who they are. They want them to continue to go to church on Sunday, and these mega churches got these baskets for put the offering in there, and they're making so much money every Sunday from the Black community that's already oppressed and in poverty compared to the Jews. It's not fair. It's not fair that they can do that. They can leave Israel and come and have these kind of things with the Shembe church. And let me try to do that. Let Ron Dalton reach out to the church, email, show up, call, talk to the elders, whoever's in charge, to say, can I have a conference, a Hebrew Singers conference with all of the Shembe church? It's a lot of people in that church. Like, it's a lot of people, hundreds of thousands. Would they allow me to do that? Probably the answer would be no. No. We've seen your work, Mr. Dalton. Nah, no, thank you. You know, these are the kind of things that I got to deal with, because at the end of the day, when you approach these churches and these theaters, they catch wind of what you're trying to teach. They may want to hear. They may be inquisitive and interested in kind of like what you're saying, but then they step back and they say, are the Jews going to like this? Are the white people of South Africa going to like this? Are they going to cut my funding? Are they going to stop donating? Are they going to cut me out of this and cut me out of that? I got to think smart about this. Now I'm not going to let this African American man come here and cause me to lose everything. So no, thank you, Ron Dalton. Have a nice day. And that's what they do. They make the phone calls. The phone calls come in, or they make the phone calls, and the people say, no, Ron Dalton, Hebrew Sniggles, nope, don't do it. Nope, if you do that, you're going to be in big trouble, buddy. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the order. Click, Ron Dalton. No, I'm sorry, we can't do it. Best of luck to you. Thank you. Shalom. You know, these are the things that's happening. So what can you do, Shonda? What can you do? I mean, people ban Hebrew Sniggles everywhere. So
well, it speaks to the larger issue that you've been communicating for such a long time, right on this platform and so many other people's platforms, that we as a people, especially in the diaspora, need to understand that us reattaching ourselves to the continent is so important. We cannot just turn a blind eye to what's going on there, because these types of moves are being made. And if you're there, but there's not a lot of you there to be able to, you know, because Brother Lorvis, I'm getting ready to get your take. You know I'm gonna get your take. But if you're there by yourself and there's not a multitude of brothers and sisters to be able to go out the same way that YaHUsHa sent the 12 out, if there's not that going on, then you're going to continue to see these types of moves that are being made, and our people continuously being under the strong delusion. Brother Lorvis, what's your thoughts when you saw that video? I know how I felt. How did you feel?
I mean, everything about it is wrong. Everything about it. I mean, a dead giveaway was when they was going around in circle dancing. Like, we don't even dance like that. That looks uncomfortable. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, something is wrong with that. And then for the lady to be wagging her fingers, talking about this is your government's fault. Like literally telling this is your government's fault in the way that we are being looked at. I mean, this is crazy. Like, and the thing about it is we buy it all the time. We feed into it. Destroyed as a people because we're looking for acceptance because we've been rejected by the Most High. You see what I'm saying? And so now we're just doing whatever to hold on to these seats, the seat of Moses, you know, so whatever these high position, and was selling off our principle. But guess what? I look at that as an opportunity. I don't look at that as, you know what? This is what it's been. This is what it's been. But the question is, the scepter should not go away from Judah. I'm paraphrasing. We call ourselves Judah here in Americas, where we've been scattered. But when are we going to start growling? When are we going to start saying, you know what? We are Judah. We are the Most High's people. Ron is over there doing this work. And it's just a few. You see what I'm saying? You see what they're doing? They know they don't even have the power. So they reach out to people who know. Look, notice what she said. You the one that makes the change. You the one that can make things different. She's right about that. Because first of all, he doesn't know his identity. So if he knew, he would be able to make the change, not to benefit them, but to benefit his own people in the Most High. But we know the difference. We know better. Why don't we go teach them? If we know better, why are we just behind keyboards? Why are we just at home? Why don't we put our resources together to affect changes? Because at the end of the day, it helps all of us. Even if you're not able to go there, right? They always come together. They put their money together. They do things. And they're trying to influence the people in Africa using these people. That's why they know they don't have the power. That's why they know we do. So they go to them. Now, I need you to tell your people, all these young kids, all these hundreds of thousands of people that's following you, to like us, to accept us, to reverence us, that we are the chosen people and you're not. But what if we amass ourselves and go over there and speak to these people in large numbers or a good number? I believe we can make some changes because they don't want us over there. Obviously, you see what they're doing with Ron, and I'm sure we'll be able to talk about some of the latest that they've been doing. But I look at us. I don't look at them. The folks ain't got no power. But the reason why they have the power that they have right now, because the Most High gave it to them, because they're fooling us as a people. But we know better. We know better. But what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Do we even believe? We say we do. We say we do. What proof more do you need than Ron doing the work when he's showing them that he's doing the work, or other people doing the work? What more proof do you need? Do you think he's gonna run off with the resources? You see what I'm saying? But the thing about it is, man, we need to come together in a sense of unity to make some changes. And we can. And guess what? The Most High is going to use his people. He used Moses. He used Daniel. He used Joseph. And then he takes them to these leaders, and then he caused havoc. He can do the same with us. Not just with Ron, but every last person in these group, in this chat. He can use all of us to make some changes. There's some things downloaded in my mind right now, but I'll talk about them later. So things that can cause real change.
Yeah, and if y'all can't already see, there's a lot of frustration here. I mean, honestly, it's like when you do the work, and we've all been doing the work from our own lanes, right? For years now. But when you do the work and then you see a blow like that, right? Because it is a major blow. Ron lives in South Africa, and he's there doing the best that he can to do the work. And for someone who spoke about the chiefs, Ron, you could speak to that as well, about your interaction with the chiefs, not just the churches. But when you're doing the work and you see that the systems of this world still have such a stronghold on the minds of people who are supposed to be believers in the scriptures, it is very disheartening. And to speak to this question, Carrie Wright says, wouldn't you have a better chance of trying to teach the people in the U.S.? I want to say to that there are so many of us that are doing that right now. And even as we're talking about this conference in North Carolina, or the conference that just happened in South Carolina, these are the things in which we're asking our people, those of you who are sitting out there and you're gleaning and you're getting the information, invite your friends, invite your family. This is your opportunity to go and have them come and fellowship with and understand the scriptures from a Hebraic standpoint versus what they've been getting, this Eurocentric Hellenistic model every Sunday that they're going to these churches. So this is your part, because you might be saying, well, I don't know how to communicate that message. Well, you may not know how to fully communicate that message, but when we're in the places where Yah has opened up opportunities for us to have conferences or to have gatherings physically, that's when we can affect change. That's when you come in and you invite your family and your friends and you make that sacrifice. It's just as Brother Lawrence was saying, they will put their resources together all day long in order to interact with the people directly. But are we doing that? That's the problem. Are we doing that? Brother Ron, I want you to speak to this issue of the chiefs versus, going to the pastors directly. Have you had interactions with the chiefs in the local area or abroad? And if you have, what's been their responses?
The chiefs and the pastors. I remember when I was in Ghana, and the chief had a book, and it was about ancient Egypt. And I said, what are they trying to tell you in that book? And the chief was about the connection between the Egyptians and the Ghanaian people. And I said, well, you know that the Israelites stayed in Egypt for a long time, and then they left. And I said, the Ghanaian people, did you leave Egypt to get here? And they said, yes, we did. One of the stories of a Sibo land in Cape Coast is the story of how the Israelites left Egypt, and the Egyptians were chasing after them. And there was a giant, Egyptian giant, that decided to stay with the Hebrews and help the Hebrews in their exodus to the land of Canaan in Africa. And the chief, I told him these things during the time I was in Ghana. I tried to speak at the reverential night, and they announced my name, and I said this. I said they just said my name. I said, "Can I go speak?" And they said, "No, no, no." They said, "No, no, no, just stop." And I said, "But we have time left. Can I just get a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?" And they said, "No, no." And the guy that was with me, he was doing like this, like he's doing like this, like they said Ron's name, like let him go up there and talk, let him get the mic. There's a lot of people there, African Americans and Ghanaians. And the people sitting in the front row, the people that can easily let me come up to the mic, they were doing that. And I told the brother next to me, I said this, you just can't make this stuff up. So then he said, "All right, Ron." And we had just did an interview with Al Jazeera, because the day before that, he said Al Jazeera wanted to interview one of the leaders of the people that brought the African Americans to this on this tour. They said they wanted to meet and talk to the leader of the tour that brought these African Americans here with God Blocks Tours. And I said, "Yeah, I'll meet with them." So I met with Al Jazeera, and we did an interview outside of Cape Coast Castle. And I said to the lady and the videographer that had the camera, I said, "You're not going to air this interview." So I don't know why we're doing it. And I laughed. And the guy next to me, he's Fontaine, Kobina, Buhari, Gilbert. He said, he laughed and said, "No, Ron, don't worry about that." He said, they're not scared. They're going to air the interview. I said, "No, they're not." I said, "Because you guys will be, you guys, your leadership is going to be scared of the content, the stuff I'm going to say." And she says, "Okay, well, let's just hear what you got to say." And I said it, and behind the camera was the whole, like all the Fonte people, the villagers, the people in that area, the Fonte people. They were all standing behind the police and the security and the videographer, and they had the lights and everything. And I was saying, we the Israelites, Deuteronomy 28:68, coming back home, and all this stuff, the curses of Israel, and the Gentiles knew who we were, and all these things, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the British. And after I got Dutch, the interviewer lady, she's like, "Woof, woof." She's like, "Man," she's like, and she was thinking like, well, hopefully they don't have a problem with this. But that was a lot, Mr. Dalton. I said, "I told you." And so like after like the end of the tour, I said, "Call them and find out when they're going to air this." He said, "Oh, we're going to air it, in a month or something like that." And I said, "Okay, let me know when they air it." Like a year or two later, did they ever air it? Nah, Ron, they never aired it. I said, "I told you." He's like, y'all interviewed me for nothing." Then we had a panel discussion that was supposed to be at Cape Coast University. Cape Coast University. The day prior to that, they had a Panafest, and they had 2020 Tony that sings the anniversary and all that stuff. They were there. They had other artists there singing. John Bidden was there. He sung, and everybody was singing and dancing and clapping. And the next day, we were supposed to have a panel discussion with Rabbi Cohen, Halevi, and other educators, historians, African spiritualists, pastors, officials. And I was ready to go because I was one of the guest speakers. I was geared up, ready to go, drop some bombs of knowledge and some facts and some things. And 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm laying in the bed, and Brother Gilbert calls me and says, "Man, I got bad news." I said, "What? What now?" And he says, "The government in Accra, they called and they said to shut it down." And I said, "Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, we just got word from the government in Accra that we can't have this here. They had to shut it down. We had to shut down the panel discussion." And I said, "Why?" I said, "Why? We had the Panafest. We had all the singing and the dancing. People were drinking and people outside smoking weed. We did all this stuff. shucking and driving, just singing and just doing all this entertainment stuff like we normally do. And when it comes down for some education and some discussion and some reasoning and some identifying the problems and solutions, and let's talk about the slave trades and the ancestors. You know, okay, when we talk about the ancestors, what are we talking about here? Are we going to worship them? Are we going to keep praising them, seeking guidance and help and instruction from them, or the Most High? Well, who's more important, the Most High or the ancestors? And so all these things I was going to address, but they shut it down. And so, you know, in South Africa, it's the same thing. The chiefs and the pastors, they say the people are not ready. They say they're not ready for this, Ryan. They're not ready. I said, what do you mean they're not ready? Well, you know, a lot of the people in the village and in the cities, they're Christians, and they understand the ancient traditions and customs and the history, the oral history. But you have to understand that what you're saying is a lot, and I don't think they can handle it, and it's gonna cause a lot of questions in my church, in my community, in my village, and I'm not prepared to answer these questions. And I said, well, so you're just gonna protect them from the truth because you're scared that you don't want to answer the questions, that you don't want to lose members and all that stuff. And they said, yes, Ryan, yes. I'm sorry, but what you said was mind-boggling and mind-blowing, and man, it made me think a lot about what you said. But I can't share this with my village. I can't share this with my congregation. You know, and all these things. And so, and a lot of times the chiefs and the kings don't have power. The government has power, and they don't recognize the chiefs and the kings as on a level that has power enough to change anything, any legislation, any laws, giving out land to African Americans, making African Americans get citizenship and permanent residency. They don't have that kind of power. The United Nations and the Jews have that power. The people that are lobbying for certain interests in South Africa, and the Jews have money, so they can be strong lobbyists in South Africa to get their interests accomplished. But things like teaching who we are, having conferences, movie screenings, panel discussions with Sangomas and Christian pastors and African spiritualists and chiefs and kings and elders of villages and tribes. They're not trying to do that. They're not trying to do none of that, because as soon as they put on the headline or flyer, Ron Dalton, Hebrews to Negroes, book author, creator, filmmaker, South African Jewish Board of Deputies trying to ban his stuff. When they see that, they're gonna be like, somebody's gonna look at the flyer, they're gonna look at what they're trying to do, and they say, no. They're gonna start making some phone calls to high up, mayors, presidents, the Jews, organizations, and they're gonna say, you cannot have this guy at this event. You cannot have him here. Ron Dalton, Hebrew Negroes, no, cancel it. Make up an excuse why you can't have him there, and do that quickly. And this is what I've been facing in South Africa.
Yeah.
I think what we need to understand is that when we see globalism taking the effect that it's taking, it's starting on the micro level. It's been happening on the micro level for such a long time, and it's in layers. So as you just explained, that being able to communicate the truth of who we are, our identity, which is that of Israel, asking the most basic of questions. Who are the Canaanites, right? Who are you in the scripture? And those are the layers that they don't want to be built up, having the people question the common narrative. Because you see, you can't establish a new WORLD. You can't establish that order if you don't have the minds of the people. And so when you have the minds of the people, then you can continue to build upon that new system. But what we're talking about is breaking that system apart, breaking the walls down that have been erected of subliminal mind control in our people for such a long time. And that's what you're trying to do. And you're getting stopped on every single level in doing that. And I know you have some things that you want to share in the PowerPoint, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that. I want to get Brother Lorvin's take on what, you know, you're seeing when you're out here and you're trying to create these relationships as well, so that we don't have our people continuously being boxed into this fear and not being able to stand up and know who they are and assert their power. And then we're going to transition to Ron's slideshow. If you have not thumbed up the video, please definitely do so. Like, share, subscribe, and support. Go ahead, Brother Lorvins.
Yeah. Ron and I were a lot different. We're different than one another. My approach is a little different than Ron. The Most High has given us a certain style in how we handle relationships, how we deal with people, things of that nature. I believe the Most High chose Ron to do this research, to tell truth in the way that he does, because he is very focused. You see what I'm saying? More like a tunnel vision with the information. He really doesn't have time for like the side shows. You see what I'm saying? Like he just doesn't. The Most High didn't program him that way. He programmed him more serious in the sense of the mission that he has. And to know that is to know him. You see what I'm saying? And that's what you see. A lot of times when Ron, if you notice, when he starts talking about the information, it's a go. He just go. Like, it takes a special gift to do something like that. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't have time for the emotions of people. He doesn't, it's not to say that he doesn't care, but that's not his focus. You see what I'm saying? Because he is passionate. He is empathetic, because I've seen it many times. And he's a very compassionate person. And you can only do that if you love the Most High's people and love the Most High. You see what I'm saying? But there are certain people the Most High just program in a way to work. The Most High program me, and this has a lot to do from how I grew up and things of that nature, right? Being able to deal with all facets of personalities, being able to just go in the room and just observe. And then when I open my mouth, the Most High speaks in a way where people just come together in a way, and it causes change, real change, not just talking, because I hate just talking. So when you hear, what I'm hearing is, you have these chiefs, you have these leaders who have positions and don't want to let these positions go, or they really want to see change, but they're afraid. You see what I'm saying? They know they can't do it by themselves. They just know. But if the Most High has downloaded a lot of truth in you and it's giving you the courage, then your job, I believe with me, is to bring certain people together to be able to hear the truth. So when I hear Ron spoke, my idea is we need to bring all these chiefs together. Bring them all together so that they can hear what maybe they have not been hearing. The reason why I say this is because even with Moses, the Most High, the way he dealt with him, he sent him to Pharaoh many times. Many times. Many times. What do you think the Most High is doing? He's creating a record. He's creating witnesses. Man, I done sent this man many times to you, and you do not listen, and you're not letting my people go. You had many chances to change your mind. Many chances. Yeah, I may have hardened it, but I already knew what your heart was like anyway. You see what I'm saying? So the idea is, even though we believe that these people won't listen, but there's still not a record. We still got to go to them. We still got to say, hey, these are the Most High people. We need to what? Do some things to cause some changes so that the Most High receive the glory for what it is that he had purpose for his people. But we're not leaving no kind of record. We're just talking. We're saying we're going to pray. We're going to do this. We're going to fast and this and this. First of all, the Most High say he don't even want your fast in the way that you fast. He don't even